everyone, it's Emily. Welcome back to my channel. Thank you for tuning in today. This is a video I'm very excited to film. I'm talking about my most reread book, and it's one that I feel like I have had my entire life and I just always go back to it. And no, it's not Harry Potter, even though I have reread them quite a bit. But this is a book that I feel like not a lot of people read. And it somehow always seems to come back onto my bookshelf, and I've reread it probably about 6 times now. And this is for Stones from the River by Ursula Heggie. It's a book you normally don't see on everyone's top reading list, but for some reason I really enjoy it. And I'll kind of go into that whole bit in my review for it in just a second. But I kind of just wanted to talk to you about how it came into my life and how many times I've read it. So I first got this book because it was one of my sister's college reads for her freshman year, I believe. So I was probably around the 5th grade mark. And I remember reading it, and I remember not liking it because it was a little bit older for me. I feel like it was it's one of those character-driven books, not necessarily plot-driven books. I mean, it does go through a long history of her life, but I feel like it was based on more feelings and things that were just a little bit over my head when I was that young. So I remember not liking it. Now, when I went to college, it was one of the books that was listed that I could choose from for one of my courses. And I was like, you know what? I feel like I'm old enough now to understand the content. And so I read it again, and I really liked it. And again, I still felt like I wasn't 100% behind it. So I was rereading a book that I didn't really like, but I liked it more. A few years went by and I decided to read it again. And then I feel like every time I read it, and as I grow older and mature, I've noticed that I enjoy the book a lot more. And so now that I've reread it about 6 times, so I've read it about probably 6 or 7 times total, I can say it's probably my favorite book. And it's one that, again, I had to adapt to, I had to grow into, because it's not one that it's not a young adult book. And I feel like there's so many young adult books in the YouTube world that are really great reads, but sometimes there's a book that doesn't get a lot of love. However, it really is a great adult novel. So the book is about a girl named Trudy, and you go throughout her life from when she's an infant to when she becomes probably around in her 30s when the book ends. And the book is throughout her life, but even though the story is about Trudy herself, I really feel like it's more about a town and the struggles they had to go through during World War II. So it is a World War II book, but it also actually starts in World War I, and it kind of fills in the gap for that time period between the 2 wars, and then it goes into World War II. And it's just a really lovely story about her and her town and how she's had to adapt to living there. And she is a dwarf. It really makes you think about how everyone has something different about them, and just some people's differences are on the outside versus on the inside. So let me just read you the little teaser on the back. So Trudy Montag is a Zwerg, a dwarf, short, undesirable, different, the voice of anyone who has ever tried to fit in. Eventually, she learns that being different is a secret that all humans share. From her mother, who flees into madness, to her friend George, whose parents pretend he's a girl, to the Jews Trudy harbors in her cellar. Ursula Heggie brings us a timeless and unforgettable story in Trudy and a small town, weaving together a profound tapestry of emotional power, humanity, and truth. I really love this story. It's something that, again, I've grown to really love. I love the time period in general, but all the characters, like every single character you grow to know and love, even from her neighbors to people she went to school with, and then she does fall in love with somebody, and it's really heartbreaking with the time period and everything that's going on. There's so much emotion in this book that I think I was too young to understand when I was in 5th grade, or even when I was 18. I felt like this book really is very emotional, and it really takes you into different people's lives, that all the struggles when everyone does have their own little things that makes them different and makes them unique, and they have to struggle. And I felt like I was a little young when I first read it, but now that I'm older, I really appreciate the writing. The writing is phenomenal. Again, it's a very character-driven book, but the plotline is very nice because you follow the whole entire town and everyone that's in it, and I just really enjoy it, and I feel like each time I read it, I discover more things about it that I love, and I discover more characters, like I can kind of connect them a little bit more, and now that I even know history a little bit better, I can understand the whole concept behind the book, and I absolutely love it, and it's one of those books that just makes me feel smart. You know, like whenever you read like classic books, it's one of those pieces that you read because you should read in your lifetime, but this is one that I do feel like I get something out of it each time that I read it, and it's fantastic. If you haven't read it and you're wanting to find a good adult book, you like historical fiction, this might be a good option for you. But I wanted to make its own video because I have reread it so many times, and it's one book that I didn't fall in love with at the first read, and I didn't fall in love with it the second or third read. I really fell in love with it as I've gotten older, and each time I read it, I kind of just love it a little bit more. So that's all I have for you guys today. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. I would love to know what your most reread book is down in the comments below, and I hope to see you soon. And make sure to subscribe and stick around, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye guys!